Well, the first thing I did right was the day I started to fight. Keep your eyes on the prize and hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize and hold on, hold on.
So let's come on around. You know, some from the boardwalk to the...
From the block to the boardroom.
From the block to the boardroom. Tell us about that place. It's like I can talk to us.
From the block to the boardroom is actually my memoir. Basically tells my life story. The title pretty much speaks for itself. From the block to the boardroom. Grew up in some of the tough parts of Trenton, New Jersey. Spent about 7 years in prison. Came home in 1993 and made a vow to myself. Oh my God, I wasn't going back to prison. And I was going to change my life around. Since then, we've been able to create a couple businesses, become an author, and an advocate for criminal justice.
Well, you know, I'm Nikiti Taifa. I'm the one who invited you here. So, and after this, at some point, I want to sit down with you because I'm just very impressed with your whole story, and you just have a lot to share and a lot to offer, and I want to make sure that we're connected.
Oh, we definitely want to do that then.
Okay, thank you. Well, nice meeting you. And get back to your hors d'oeuvres and the like.
and the Kool-Aid.
And the like. And the Kool-Aid. Oh, my brother. How you doing?
I want a hug. Okay, how you feeling?
I want to talk to us, Brother Salim Adolfo. Why are you here this evening?
I'm here because you sent me an email to tell me I should come. But more importantly, I'm here because I know there are a lot of sisters and brothers who are engaged in strong work in our community with
So tell us who you work with.
I work with the National Black United Front, the Institute of the Black World. I work with the Black Family Summit. I work with the National African American Reparations Coalition. I work with National Society of Black Engineers, and I work with some folks I can't tell you about.
You got it all. I'm really glad to be here because we are at Vote For Justice Evening of Empowerment with activists and with artists and the like. We have this wonderful banner up here. We're going to have a slam dunk program after the reception. Hope you had a chance to go to the red carpet. We have a photo booth over there. We hope that you go there, take your pictures, share on social media, talk about just what justice means to you. There's a justice thing art gallery over there. I want you to see and experience it all. The book pavilion. There's a lot we got going on in here. Got a short period of time before we go into the auditorium for the program. Okay?
Yes, ma'am. Miss Crystal.
Okay, my brother. My sister here, Alicia here, looking all wonderful. How are you, my sister? I'm going to get too close because I've got to fall off. Don't you dare do that. We keeping it real here. This is the real TV. No, this is the Kiki's Broadcast Network. Okay, well, I'm grateful that you feel like I'm looking forward to some programs. No, but that's what I'm here for is justice. All right, that's what I'm talking about. Make sure you go to the Justice booth. All right. And take the photo booth, take a picture, share it on social media. I will. It's right over there. I will. Okay, so we want to kind of...
Grateful to be a part of this amazing event, and I thank Nikiti for inviting me.
Well, I am so glad that you come. I'm so glad that Alabama is in the house. I want to go through the red carpet. Is that Karen Garrison over there?
Karen Garrison.
Miss Karen, mommy activist, come on over here real quick. Talk to us about what you think about all this.
I think it's exciting, and I'm glad to see all of us here in one spot having a good time, but also sharing important information, making sure that equality persists. That's very important.
That's what I'm talking about. That was mommy activist right there. She worked very tirelessly for the release of her sons from unjust imprisonment. Let's go ahead and take a look over here. Do we? I'm fine. Tell us. My name is Pamela Wynn. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. I'm representing the store for former President, and I fight for anti-shackling because I'm shackled myself. partner with you all. That's what he talking about.
Yeah, no, this is incredible. I mean, this is exactly what America needs right now. That is, you know, a new vision for justice. So I'm so honored to be here today.
You know what? I just talking to Kimber Smith because she said these years. She was saying that this is one of the things that he energized herself to get out there and
That's so true, because these are depressing times. Constantly in the trenches, constantly fighting, constantly trying to stop bad things from happening. So it's so incredibly uplifting and rewarding to actually be pushing a positive vision. You know, what justice means, right? Justice means like treating all people with dignity and respect, right? Choosing people over prisons. So this is it. This fuels the movement, and this fuels the movement.
Next you're here, Woody. I'm glad you're here with you, my brother. Okay. Something was blowing. From Alabama and from Atlanta right there. Affair, and his sister Sonia here. Beautiful right there. She has a book that I think is called Billion. As well, they support my sister. You never even believe people were formally incarcerated. We got Andrea James right there, the National Council of Incarcerated, formerly incarcerated women. This is your red carpet, however. Yeah, we got all the sisters. Look at that. Look at these sisters right here, Bob. I mean, these are the queens of, you know, what we're talking about. Yeah. Yeah, this is just so wonderful. Folks have come here to be energized. Folks have come here to see what's going on. Let's go and take a look down at the art pavilion.
Failing to signal a lane change. Riding in your girlfriend's car with a child in the back.
Run into the bathroom in your own apartment.
Selling cigarettes outside of a corner store.
Riding a commuter train.
Walking home with a friend.
Making eye contact.
Selling CDs outside of a supermarket.
Wearing a hoodie.
Walking away from police.
Walking toward police.
Missing a front license plate.
Holding a fake gun in the park in Ohio.
Driving with a broken brake light. Sitting in your car before your bachelor party.
Walking up the stairwell of your apartment building.
Calling for help after an accident.
Holding a fake gun in Virginia.
On the way to Bible study.
Holding a fake gun in Walmart.
Laughing.
Holding a wallet.
For attending a birthday party.
Doing absolutely nothing.
Not servile enough. Go to weareheremovement.com to tell President Obama and Congress that the time for change is now. We demand radical transformation to heal a long history of systemic racism so that all Americans have the equal right to live and to pursue happiness.
was born by the river in a little tent. Oh, and just like the river, I've been running ever since. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes, it will. It's been too hard living, but I'm afraid to die, 'cause I don't know what's going on up there beyond the sky. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes, it will. Then I go to my brother and I say, brother, would you help me please? Oh, help me please. But he winds up knocking me down on my knees. Oh, it's been times that I thought I wouldn't last too long, but now I know that I'm able to carry on. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes, it will. Hang on to the world as it spins around. Just don't let the spin get you down. Things are moving fast. Hold on tight and you will last. Keep your self-respect, your woman and manly pride. Get yourself in gear. Keep your stride. Never mind your fears. But the days will soon be here. Take it from me, someday we'll all be free. Keep on walking tall, hold your head up high. True story, when I was walking to school when I was 8 years old, one of the county drunks saw me walking with my head down and told me, boy, keep your head up. And I've been walking with my head up ever since. Keep on walking tall, hold your head up high. Lay your dreams right up to the sky. Sing your greatest song. And you keep going on. take it from me. Someday we'll all be free. Hey, just wait and see. Someday we'll all be free. And it won't be long, take it from me. Someday we'll all be free. Thank you.
What y'all know about that? I ain't mad at mumble rap, but dang. It's good to know what you're saying. Know what I'm saying? No, we really don't. Okay, I get it. And I ain't dogging them. Standing by the speaker. Suddenly I had a fever. Was it me or either summer madness? Articulate the pain, the anxiety. That's why you got Sam Cooke, 34 years old when he rose up out of here in L.A., but the son of a preacher, Pentecostal in Chicago. Donnie Hathaway, out of here at what, 33? Washington, D.C., Howard University, out of St. Louis, youngest gospel singer in the world. Now back to the program as printed. Y'all out there? I'm gonna need some Pentecostal Baptist kind of amen. All right. Change is definitely coming. As we know, the effects of the prison system can be lasting, deleterious, destructive, and permanent. But from it, there is also growth and the beauty of resilience. Coming to the stage, we have a brother who at the age of 16 was charged as an adult and spent more than 8 years in prison. One of the more than 600,000 people that come home from state and federal prisons yearly, this man has dedicated his life to making sure we all know what justice looks like. And I know one thing, justice is what love sounds like when it speaks in public. Now, an award-winning poet, artist, and author, he turned that experience into art to move the masses. Please welcome Reginald Dwayne Betts.
I may never get a chance to do something like this again. So the first thing I'll say is this performance is really premised on the fact that I know more people who will not get out of prison than I can name at this moment. I know more people who have been sentenced to life in prison as 15 and 16-year-olds than should be possible in a country like the United States of America. And I'm pleased that everybody in this room cares about the issue now, but I also know when I got incarcerated in 1996 and I faced a life sentence, I could not find somebody to hear my voice. What we know of horses. And when my brother says Swan Road is the world, he ignores boarded vacants, broken windows, displaces shattered glass. He tells me, believe the world is a tenement house, a pocket full of stones, a world of ghosts, and what's left of ash and smoke after each inhale. I visit now that a prison cell holds this world. Dead men circle every block we know. Thread this world with quotes from Psalms. The sorrows of death embrace me. Some trust in chariots and some in horses. They embrace metaphor, disbelieve gravity, breathe in a haunted world. And what of my brother? Running these streets, he was a horse, graceful, destined to be broken. Why admire horses? Why compare everything fast and beautiful to horses? My daddy's generation had a saying for men lost in the world. It was true of my uncle, my cousin, men strung out on horse, chasing a dragon, shivering with the memory of that stallion gone postal in their veins, called them lost in place with cities buried inside them, horses inside them stampeding. My brother put his faith in horse, and there's no map to find him now. He tells me he inhales the funk of men doing life in prison, and he knows he is in hell, that he has dug his grave amongst bricks that embrace him. He, exile, with only rusted iron and bricks bracing his 200 pounds. Who admits this cage embraces him? History is written on the back of the horse broken by the world. We all in prison now. I stare at this man my kin ruined by embracing night. Call this place a horse collar and watch how it cuts into skin, how the leather embraces all of our necks. Even as a visitor behind plate glass, I brace myself for cuffs. This ain't Swan Road. This burden placed on me, these memories of courtrooms and places where the bodies were found. And still, I want to stop and embrace my brother, to hold him close and pause to inhale the scent of prison, to tell him what I smell, what I inhale is still the body of a man. How can a man inhale so much violence and not change? I light my Newport, inhale, think on how his voice has changed. My man now, a feral horse wearing kick chains, unable to sleep, always on guard, inhaling the air for prey as if he is still the predator, as if he can inhale death and keep on living. Prison, the elephant in our world. I imagine the other men here in a world filled with a casket's aftermath. How much grief can you inhale? My brother tells me he prays at night. He wants to leave this place, but we know his wild hours placed him in this mural of blood. His hunger placed him in C Block, cell 21. It suffocates and nothing replaces time. You okay in here, I ask? But he's in a place only he knows. When he walks away, he embraces the kind of rage I fear. A man was killed near him, placed on a gurney and rushed down a sidewalk, dead in a place where no one gives a fuck if you're breathing. To be a horse galloping away is what I want for him. He wants horse trundling through his scarred veins. Prison has taken the place of our freedom, even in his dreams. And I know this is not a world where none is lonely. And I know he is lost to the world. And I know he believes this: I shut my eyes and all the world is dead. And yet there is still a strip, a place that he believes is the world. Swan Road, where he can inhale and be free. Sometimes his cuffs are on my wrists, and I embrace the way they cut. And I'm the one domesticated, a broken horse. Thank you.
Called me up to the front of the classroom, and the officer handcuffed me, walked me down the hall, and it was humiliating, very embarrassing.
Patrice Cullors was just 12 years old when she was arrested by police in her middle school.
I completely felt like anything I did was up for scrutiny and up for criminalization.
What happened to Cullors is reflective of a much bigger problem within our educational system in regards to students of color being criminalized within their own schools. This issue is called the school-to-prison pipeline.
Yo, bro, he's not even resisting. Let him go, dog. He's not even resisting.
When it comes to disciplinary action, schools treat black children jarringly different than how they treat white children. As a result, many children of color can end up in the criminal justice system at a very young age. And for older high school students, criminalization and arrests can continue into adulthood.
Black kids and white kids, if they do the same behavior, the black kid gets more punishment, worse punishment, more often they get punished for the same activities.
Cullors was one of these young children. She talked about her experience in the best-selling book, When They Call You a Terrorist.
Policing and criminalization isn't just the police on campus, which is a huge part of it, but it's the setup in which a campus feels like a prison environment.
So, Just how bad is this problem? Let's start with this. According to the most recent and available data, during the 2013 to 2014 school year, black students were 25% of the 143,866 students referred to law enforcement. That's a clear disparity when you consider black students were only 15% of the public school population that year. Also, black girls in particular are nearly 5 times more likely to be given out-of-school suspensions and nearly 4 times more likely to get arrested in school than white girls.
Black girls are characterized as having an attitude. The disparities happen because there is racism baked into the system.
To take it a step further, the school-to-prison pipeline may have even played a role in the story of Trayvon Martin. Trayvon had reportedly been suspended from his Miami high school for alleged possession of marijuana. His parents sent him to Sanford, Florida to serve out his suspension while under supervision. That's where he was killed by George Zimmerman. That begs the question, if Trayvon's school had found another way to discipline him, would he have ever come in contact with Zimmerman? Trayvon's death and Zimmerman's acquittal motivated Colors and others to create the Black Lives Matter movement. In order to end the cycle, advocates have proposed restorative justice programs that build relationships between staff and students and that bring in more counselors instead of police.
There is a culture clash between the school environment and what police officers do. And so they are in a school environment looking for criminal infractions.
Colors says removing police from schools is only the first step in disrupting the school-to-prison pipeline. Ultimately, she says, it's about empowering all communities to determine what best serves their children.
I think people need to think about what kind of education are we trying to provide children.
Crazy, isn't it? Crazy, isn't it? I literally just told my daughter the other day, I'm raising a 14-year-old, pray for me. And I told her, I'm afraid of her even having any kind of argument or anything in school. Why are we here? Why has it come to that point where you can't even have a discrepancy with somebody? You're afraid your child will go to jail from school. We're at a horrible place, people, but we're going to make a change. There are an estimated 2.7 million children in the nation that currently have an incarcerated parent. At least 10 million children have experienced the trauma of parental incarceration at some point in their lives. We know that Black and Latino children are disproportionately affected. And as a Black mother, knowing that children need parents to thrive in this world, that statistic disgusts me. Here to discuss the trauma families experience at the hands of the criminal justice system are Emmy Award nominee and a very long-time friend of mine, Michael K. Williams, and activist Dominic DuPont, and the brilliant Sean King. Welcome.
Thank you. Hello. It's good to see you all. Part of what we hope to do in our few moments together and in the next segment that you'll see is to move from statistics to human beings. And when we talk about how many people are incarcerated, we often lose the names and the faces and the stories. And so we have here a family, and Michael and Dominic are family. And Michael, you have now a brilliant documentary series that's telling the stories, the human stories of mass incarceration, particularly the effect it has on children. And Dominic is your nephew. Now, I know people are doing the math in their mind, but black don't crack and all of the other stuff. So it's like all, but tell us some about your documentary, and then Dominic, there are a couple questions that I have for you in our moments together. Tell us what you're doing in your series.
Well, the documentary, it started out as just me wanting to find answers. Michael Skolnick, who I consider a mentor of mine, he brought me to the White House, and we sat down with then President Obama and a few other people in the room, about 30 people in the room, and the topic was criminal justice reform. So there were two things happening. One, I was freaking out that I finally made it to the White House. Right? And then two, I was like, well, what the heck do they want with me? I started like tweaking. So Mike was like, Mike, just calm down. You know, people closest to the problem are usually the ones closest to the solution. And my light bulb went off when he said that. So I came back home and I was literally foaming at the mouth. You know, this is right after me having done Black Market with Michael K. Williams. This is right after coming up the heels of The Night Of and doing press for both of those shows. I just kept finding myself in these conversations about the criminal justice system. I'm like, oh, wow, you know, how am I here? So when I left the White House, just like, you know, I was like, all my bells were ringing off. So I went to my producers at Viceland, and I was like, you know, guys, I think we have something here. I have something here, my family and my friends. You know, I sat down and I said, you know, Mike, you've never been to prison, true, but I have been visiting friends and family members in the system since I was 17 years old. My first visit was on Rikers Island, 17 years old. And I've been visiting ever since, still making visits, you know, and, you know, it was like, whoa. So I took it to the producers. I said, this is my family, these are my friends. What do we have here? There's something here. And they started to draw this common thread where, wait a minute, Mike, they all did their crimes as adolescents. So the first thing I recognized was that this is a country that we criminalize adolescent behavior. You know, Dominic made a very bad decision. He brought an illegal firearm to an already lit situation, volatile situation. He was protecting his twin brother over an altercation over a girl. Teenage boys fighting over a girl. Sound familiar? Right? It's typical. That's typical adolescent boy behavior. The only difference between one neighborhood to the neighborhood that we grew up in is that Dominic had way too much access to illegal firearms to make that dumb decision. And that's what I started to look back and say, wait a minute, this is strategically planned. They put things in place for us to trip us up, and I started to look at it differently.
Right.
And that's how the racism system got born.
Dominic, one of the things I asked you just a moment ago, because I saw it in a clip, you know, I asked you, how long were you incarcerated? Let me ask you again, how long were you incarcerated?
Thanks. So I was incarcerated 20 years, 7 months, and 18 days. Yeah.
I think it's powerful that you frame it that way because each day mattered. And just backstage, you know, you and I both, all three of us live in Brooklyn. And, you know, I asked you if your family lived in Brooklyn, and one of the things that you said that stung, you told me about some of your family members who passed away when you were locked up. Who passed away?
True. So I had been outside of a prison twice in all the years that I had been incarcerated, and they were both for funeral visits. So in 2010, my grandmother passed away, and in 2014, my mother passed away. So I had an opportunity to go down there for 1 hour, nothing more, in handcuffs and shackles, more restraints than animals have on, to pay my respects. And that is still something that is very difficult for me to process.
Part of the reason I asked you that is we're not talking enough about the human, emotional toll that the time not only took on you, but your family, your friends, and your network.
The community.
Yeah, the entire community. Michael, you had a point where you asked this young boy, you all traveled to this school in Newark.
Yes, sir.
And you met this young boy, I think you maybe say was 11 years old.
Yes, Michael.
And you were just talking about the effects of incarceration, and you said 95% of the children in that school had an incarcerated family member or parent. 95% of the children.
95.
And when he started opening up to you, what did he tell you?
Well, the abuse that he had encountered at 11 years old was paramount. His biological father physically beat him so much and bruised him so much that he had to constantly keep moving because DYFS would start to get suspicious naturally, or teachers would threaten to call DYFS, so they would just pack up and move and take these boys into school. Everyone that he gravitated to for stability as a child would do ended up in the system, either for selling drugs or using, which left him then, and then I think there was death. So everything led him back to his father's care, who was physically beating the crap out of him. And that was his life at 11 years old. So he drops all of this on me in just a random conversation. That when you watch this doc, there's no do-overs, there's no rehearsed conversations. What you see is what actually happened as the first response to a first asked question. And after he had told me all the sadness in his life, I tried to, he tells me he wants to be the first one to not go to prison in his life, in his family. 11-year-old boy says, I want to be the first one.
Both his parents have been
everyone,
incarcerated.
prison,
Brothers, uncles, aunts,
everybody has gone through the system for either using drugs or selling. And he wanted to be the first to not go to prison. So after he tells me this, I try to lighten the room up. And I ask him, I said, well,
you're holding back the tears.
Massive tears. Yeah, I'm fighting. I'm grappling.
So you try to lighten it up.
I mean, I'm talking to a dark-skinned a boy named Michael with a scar on his face. Come on.
You see a reflection of yourself.
It was a lot going on, right? So I'm really trying to keep it together. So I asked the kid, so what do you want to be when you grow up? Pointing to the future. And he looks at me and says, I want to work for DYFS. So
Which is what for the audience?
DYFS is in New Jersey. That's the I don't know. It's an acronym for the system that takes care of kids, Department of Youth Services, or something like DYFS. But it's like
because he saw them as the regulators and the protectors.
Yes, exactly. And he said he knew at 11 years old, I want to use my past to be a blessing in someone else's life. I know what it is to go through this system. I know what it is to have to be put in this system. So I want to give my life to helping kids like me. And he knew to tell me that at 11 years old. Man, did I cry.
Yeah.
Yeah, that broke me down.
We have to go, but I asked both of you something, and I think it's probably the most important thing that we'll say. In leaving here, and there are people watching online all over the world, people want to know, okay, I'm bothered, I'm frustrated, I'm angry about injustice and mass incarceration. People want to know what they can do about it. And you all are both positioning your entire lives to be change agents. Dominic, what are you doing? And Michael, share some of what you're doing as well, and we'll close on that.
Thank you. It's a great question. Action. That's what we're doing. We're tired of the talking. We're tired of having a conversation. The problems that need to be addressed are going to take action. And that means those of you who are in the room sitting in and listening around the world need to know that it's time to move. Now.
Right. And Michael, share some things that you're doing right now as well to just to play your part in changing this system and making it better.
For me, it's about mentorship. I think we need to stop waiting for people to rebuild our community. I think we have enough resources and enough love, because that's the main thing, enough love and enough of understanding of spirituality and love of God that I think we have enough resources to start getting back at our kids. And I mean, we're all at different levels in our lives and different responsibilities and things. We got issues going on. We all got things going on in our life. Lord knows, right now I'm dealing with some mental illness in my personal life. One of my family members right now, and it's serious. But just one, we could take one day out of the week and go to a local public school and get a kid and just spend one day out the week with this kid. You'd be surprised what that will do to that young person's life. So mentorship and village mentality.
Yeah,
that's what I'm about.
Definitely. And I just want to say that I think this is important. Michael's actively involved in developing a foundation called MKW, Making Kids Win. It's a non-for-profit. You need to stay tuned for what's next.
Yeah. You all put your hands together for Michael and Dominic. Now, up next, you're going to meet another family who are experiencing a completely different side of the criminal justice system. You may have seen I wrote a series about a young man named Pedro Hernandez. And Pedro's mother and brother are here. and a wonderful, brilliant woman, Carmen Perez, one of the co-founders of the Women's March, who also is just a lifelong juvenile justice advocate and a brilliant organizer. Is going to talk with them about the effects of corruption in the criminal justice system with both police and prosecutors. So put your hands together for them, and you'll see a brilliant clip from the documentary next. Thank you all.
For my nephew Dominic, it took one fatal mistake as a teenager to be sentenced to 25 years to life in prison. Let's talk about that one moment in your life. Could you or would you have handled the situation differently?
I've often thought about this whole situation, sometimes until exhaustion. But I also think that we don't have to be defined by that one worst moment in our life.
Absolutely.
And for me, that's what this is about.
While behind the prison walls, Dominic has decided to pay it forward by counseling and mentoring the other men there. He leads a group called Exodus, where he encourages them to do the work on the inside so they can make a healthy and successful transition. Because of Dom's resolve and his resemblance to the fighter, they lovingly call him Tyson.
If it wasn't for Tyson, I wouldn't be who I aspire to be, who I am now. I love because of these men.
Okay. Peace. Part of this process is to remember what we've done. Too many children, too many grandchildren have been affected by our conduct.
After more than 20 years of pristine records and giving back behind bars, my nephew Dominic was granted clemency for the remainder of his sentence.
All right, thank you. It's beautiful, man. I'm ready. This is what I've been preparing for 20 years, 7 months, 18 days. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to make an impact in the community in a very, very positive way.
I'll stand there with you, bro.
Hello, everyone. I know tonight's been a very heavy topic, and I'm just really grateful to be here with Louis and Jessica. When I think about the impact that incarceration has on families, I think about my own personal story of being 14 years old and learning how to navigate the system, but also how to transfer money from a bank account to a bail bondsman to help my brother get out. And so I've dedicated 23 years of my life working on system accountability, police accountability, as well as I went from providing alternatives to incarceration for young people in the juvenile justice system to actually entering the system as a probation officer to work within the system. And as I understand, oftentimes we could get caught up in a system, but I am proud to say that none of the young people that were on my caseload ever had gotten sentenced to any type of incarceration. If anything, I was able to refer them back to a community-based organization or to a program, a treatment program. I lead an organization called the Gathering for Justice and Justice League NYC. The Gathering was founded in 2005 by Harry Belafonte. And the work that we do has led me to actually meet Jessica and Pedro. We were able to support in their campaign called Justice for Pedro. And I just also want to give a shout out to Layla and Roy, who are also in the audience, who are part of that campaign. We were able, through kind of the relationship that we have with Sean King, we were able to bring about 50 organizations and individuals together to build a coalition to support the family. And so I know one of the things that we constantly talk about is not only bail reform, but it's also the collateral consequences. Not only am I impacted by my brother, but I also have a cousin, another family member that's facing 4 life sentences at Pelican Bay. My partner, who we are to have a child in a couple of months, won't be able to do certain things because of his felony conviction. He won't be able to volunteer at my child's school. He won't ever be able to get on a bus during a field trip, ever take my child to another country like Canada or Australia to see kangaroos. And what I've recently learned is that we would never be able to adopt something that I've always wanted. And so I think about not only bail reform and the system that we have to transform, but I also think about the 44,000 collateral consequences that we have because of these convictions. And so I would love for you to just kind of talk about the impact that all this had on you. And when we met, you had already been organizing and talking about the situation with Pedro for about 1.5 years. But it's so nice to be on stage with you. And so I just kind of want to start with that. I know that you were personally impacted. You had a brother that was also in the system, and that was your introduction to the system. And then you studied criminal justice, but never imagined having a son, actually 2 sons impacted by the system.
Yes. Good evening. My name is Jessica Perez. I was first impacted when I was 18 years old. My youngest brother, he was 15, 16 at a time, got put away in Rikers Island for a crime he didn't commit. While my brother was pending trial, suffered many things in Rikers Island. I saw my mother visiting him day after day. In the process of my brother being incarcerated, my mother suffered a heart attack. She ended up in the hospital with an open heart surgery. My brother didn't have an option but to take a plea so my mother could start visiting Rikers Island. So that was my first impact with the justice system. But as a mother, years later, I have my older son being impacted by the justice system. He was strong enough to overcome the situations. But when I saw my 16-year-old being targeted by police over and over, arrested for things he didn't commit, and me as a mother feeling empowered, I couldn't do nothing about it. I knew I had to do something about it. I didn't want to end up like my mother, so I didn't have an option. I started getting all the help, hiring private investigators to help me prove my son's innocent. In the process of that, many news became involved because there was police corruption involved in his case. His case got all the channels from New York City alerted of district attorney misconduct. So during that process, good activists tried to reach me. But due that my son's name is Hernandez, they were looking for me under Jessica Hernandez. I was lucky enough to meet Leila Martinez, Roy Waterman, somebody by the name Supreme, who also alerted Sean King about my son's story. When Sean King exposed the story in the Daily News, it took 3 days for the RFK to come into place. My son wasn't only sent to Rikers while being innocent, but my son also was a victim of the bail system we currently are suffering in New York City and in New York State. My son's bail was $250,000 for a case that it was just reckless endangerment with a weapon that they never recovered, and once again, it wasn't him. At that moment, I fought like any mother would do. I put in appeals, and after all that, my money wasn't worth me being as a mother wasn't good enough for them to lower the bail to a reasonable bail so I could bail my son out. At that moment, the RFK came into place, walked in the court with a $250,000 check, and they consented to lowering that bail to $100,000. So I'm here sharing this story today. It's just part of a big story because I believe that if people in power come into place, we can make a difference. When activists came into my rescue and we put together, like I call them, my angels sent from above, we put together the rally for Pedro, case was dismissed. I just want to say thank you for having us here, and thank you to everybody.
And so the case was dismissed, and I know recently Pedro was pulled over, and that was a story that you shared with me, Louis, how, again, these convictions that follow you outside of cases being closed or you even having an expungement. How did that play out?
So basically, he's a legal driver. He has a driver's license. He was pulled over recently, and for being Pedro Hernandez, the person who championed for his civil rights and stood up for his grounds while being incarcerated, the person that faced all odds and went on to graduate in Rikers Island because he was prevented from receiving his education as any other child should receive their education, how I'm receiving my education, how the rest of my siblings got to receive their education. For being Pedro, he was pulled over. There was no reason for the stop, and he was arrested for a warrant. My brother was released from Rikers Island in July of 2017. We're in 2018, and it's been a few months since he was in Rikers Island. The traumatic experience that he had in Rikers, no one should ever have to go through. And I feel like continuously, just because he has that arrest record, even though every case that he's been arrested for has been dismissed and sealed, that's still gonna follow him for his whole life. And I feel as though that's something that, as activists, as politicians, as criminal justice reform, people sitting in this room, we should work against to have reformed and fixed, because that's always going to follow him for the rest of his life. No matter what he goes on to be in life, he's always going to have that arrest record. And every time a police officer stops him and that arrest record comes up, they look at him as the criminal that he's not, which is not reasonable at all. And I feel as though things like that is what impact marginalized communities and communities of color, especially in the Bronx, South Bronx, where I live in New York City. And through the experience with my brother, I was impacted so strongly that it led me to activate myself with activists like Kerry Kennedy, Carmen Perez, Sean King, who was here just on the panel prior to us. They've ignited me to, well, they have ignited my activism in the community now. So now I'm working with Carmen Perez, and I'm a member of Justice League NYC. And I continue to do the work that I feel many are not doing. And I'm going to continue to do that, and I'm going to continue to listen to the advice of my elders. And I'm going to continue to work against what keeps minority communities, Latinos, Blacks, and people of color suppressed. And yeah.
So our time is up, but we want to certainly thank you and just kind of remind you that there are 2/3 people in jail that are not convicted of a crime. That's 16,000 innocent people in New York. And so You said that we were your angels, and I just know that these are champions for change, and they are courageous to go out there and fight for their family members. And so when we think about incarceration, we need to think about it through a systemic, a holistic approach, and also work with family members that are impacted by this issue. So let's give another round of applause for our guest here, and thank you so much.
Well, the first thing I did right was the day I started to fight. Keep your eyes on the prize and hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize and hold on, hold on, and hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize and hold on, hold on, and hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize and hold on, hold on, and hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize and hold on, hold on, and hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize and hold on, hold on, and hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize and hold on, hold. Well, the first thing I did right was the day I started to fight. Keep your eyes on the prize and hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize and hold on, hold on, and hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize and hold